The MobTube Chronicles 1 and the MobTube Chronicles 2 are on Amazon and on Amazon Kindle now. Please be sure to get your copies today.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. So, your name's Terri, and how old are you, Terri?
74.
Wow. You're looking good on it, I must
Thank
say.
you.
Yeah, 70 is the new 50.
It sure is.
And where were you born, Terri?
Geneva, New York.
Okay, and then how would you describe your family when you were growing up? Was it
Idyllic. Father and mother both worked, raised on a dairy farm, had one brother. It was just idyllic. I didn't go wild till I left home.
Oh, and what age did you leave home?
I graduated and I got engaged to a guy that was going to Vietnam, and then I found out he was writing to another girl. So I left and went to Minneapolis to become an airline stewardess. I flew for Western Airlines and I started sowing my wild oats.
Oh my
And that's
goodness.
putting it nice.
And this is and how old were you?
I graduated in 69, so I probably left for Minneapolis in 70.
Okay, and who would you say? So, what was your first job? Well, first of all, tell me who these are.
Oh, that's me and my third husband, the father of my little girl, Brianna.
Oh, you had
That's number 3. I've been married 6 times. That one's number 3, the one I came to Texas with.
Oh, and you had dark hair then too. Huh?
Yes, I always had dark hair. My mother's Italian.
Okay.
And I had the dark hair, but it's went gray, and my beautician talked me into just leaving it natural. So,
okay, and who is this?
that's me holding a cat, Eva.
Oh, yeah.
Cat's name was Eva, and that little ceramic dog behind me is a Pekingese, because as you know, my Pekingese are my life.
Right. Wow. Okay.
That's me with a Rottweiler named Howard Allen and another little Pekingese named Shady.
Right.
That's in Texas. I think I was with my number 5 husband, 5 or 6 in that picture.
Okay.
That's me and my grandmother with another Pekingese. That would be up in New York.
Yeah, you look good Italian there.
That's my dad's mother. My hair was black, but I started getting gray when I was 19. And
Right.
it got like half and half. And so I just let it go.
Okay. So who are the people? What was your first job, first of all?
My first job, I was still in high school, and I worked at a place called the Longhorn Restaurant. I walked from the school to this restaurant, and I worked there. And then my next job was at a panty factory sewing panties. And that's when I was with the guy that was going to Vietnam. And when he broke my heart, I left and went to Minneapolis. So then I was a stewardess.
Right. And so at that time, who would you say were the people that had the biggest impact on your life?
Probably my grandmother, the one that was in the picture, because
Yeah.
she took me all over the United States and Mexico and Canada and Copenhagen. We traveled together.
Oh,
I was
okay.
her favorite grandchild. I was her oldest and her favorite. So, and she ran a store my whole life. She
Oh,
had a Wakely's grocery store, so I always was at the store with her a lot. I'd say she was.
right. And so when you went to, these different places, did you know anyone, or you just went on your own, or?
When I went to Minneapolis, I started knowing a lot of guys, I'll put it that way. And then I can't remember, I got in a whole bunch of trouble in Minneapolis. I got kicked out of the airlines, and I hung around with this lawyer, and his wife found out about it, and there was a lot of trauma. He put me on a plane and sent me back to my home.
Oh, wow.
Said he didn't want to see me again. Well, when I got back home, I ran into the Vietnam guy, and I wasn't over the way he had treated me. So my first husband was named Jack Kennedy. I married him kind of like to spite the Vietnam guy. And we went to Santa Barbara, and I lived in Santa Barbara with him, and he was an X-ray technician. But that didn't turn out good because I took off with a Greyhound bus driver and was gone 4 days, came back, he kicked me out, and then I started stripping in Santa Barbara, 2 strip clubs, Little Annie's and Aladdin's.
So how did you get into that? Did you know people that were?
Now I started hanging with bikers.
Okay.
Started hanging with the bikers, and their girlfriends were all strippers. But I didn't have a specific biker. I was just hanging around them, and I didn't let them get my money. I kept it like they did. But then my mother got breast cancer. So my dad called me and asked me if I cared about my mother, I would come home. So I did. I went back home from Santa Barbara. I stayed with my mother during her break. She got over it. She lived through it. And then I was working at an electric cord company there where I'm from, making electric cords. And I met my second husband, Vietnam. Well, I didn't meet him, but I hooked back up with him. And he was a race car driver, a horse rider, a Harley rider. We went to Sturgis together. And he was a player. And we fought continuously. We're together about 2 years. And then I got with my daughter's father, who was kind of rich, probably the richest one of the 6. He had a big cabin cruise around Seneca Lake. I got pregnant with my daughter. And he was a manager at Champion Homes. So he got transferred to Texas. That's how come I wound up in Texas, because of him.
Right. And you stayed in Texas since?
I've been in Texas since 1977.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I worked at a place called Polio Dairy with Italian guys. My boss's name was Polio. The cheese was Polio. And he told me, I got a picture of him somewhere. I didn't send it to you. I couldn't find it. But he told me I would hate Texas. He said, you're going to hate Texas. Just don't quit. Just go ahead and take a leave because you're going to want to come back. Well, I thought he was just trying to get me out of my employment. So I quit, came here. We got to Texas on a Wednesday, and I got hired at the salt mine on Friday.
Right.
And they paid more than the milk plant did. But I was there for 45 years.
Wow. Wow. So when did the sex work come in?
Well, I was a stripper in California. I told you about that. And then when I got here, my friend Sharon, that you've seen, that stays here, she was out on the truck all the time, but she used her laptop. And she told me about all these rooms in Yahoo. When Yahoo was big, I don't know if you remember that or not, but Yahoo used to have these free chat rooms. Well, I'd make 4, 5, 6 profiles up, go in them, do sexy stuff. And then Yahoo shut down, and Sharon, my friend, that was on the truck, she found this site called Pal Talk from out of England. You might have heard of it.
No.
It came from England. They're the ones that run it.
Right.
So I went in there with her. She got me going in there, and they had these porn rooms, 4X porn rooms, where you could actually make money. The men had to pay to join. So she took me in this one room, introduced me to this guy. He talked me into getting my own room called Shaker Ladies Show and Tell Playroom. And he was like a DJ in there. And you would have these little cameras, like you're looking at me right now. You could have like 80 cameras a man in there.
Right.
To look at. And you were like their person. They tell you to do this and do that. I'm not going to go into it, but graphic stuff. And they had to hit this join button. They could look at you for like 10 seconds for free, and then they had to hit the join button. And there was other women in there too.
Right.
And so when they hit that join button, that was $30.
Wow. Wow.
So you try to get them in there, and I only did it on weekends because I worked all the time at the salt mine. I basically did it on Sundays, once in a while on a Saturday. But my guy, the guy from Wisconsin that ran the room, he would play porn movies in there all week long so people could go in there and watch porn. But I had certain guys that liked me, kind of like that OnlyFans is now, I guess.
Right, right.
I'd have certain guys that liked me, and I was making some buku money off of that.
Yeah.
Buku money.
And
but so you couldn't do it now because that Pornhub and everything's free. That That thing I was doing is old fashioned. You couldn't even.
So were your husbands aware that you were doing that? They didn't mind?
Well, see, I was in between them when I went on that. But even if they were around, I would have still done it, because that's why I wound up getting beat up all the time, because I didn't listen. But when I bought this house, it was after I had divorced number 6.
Yeah.
And I made myself a promise there would never be another man living with me ever. I was going to be on my own, have my dogs, do what I wanted to do. So when I was in the porn room and when I had it on the computer, I was basically alone here.
Right.
Because I'd already divorced number 6. I had some men that I dated, but they weren't going to tell me what to do. If they did, you could make more money if you had a man on there with you doing stuff.
Right.
Because the first room I had held 150 people, and before I quit doing it, I was up to 800 people in the room.
Wow.
So you figure all them guys are hitting join. Well, you let the women in for free because they're making you more money. They come in and get a part of it. Well, this guy in Wisconsin took care of all that money, the PayPal and all that. And then he hooked me up a 900 number.
Right.
You remember when they were popular.
Yeah, yeah.
Dial 1-800-SLUT was the number. And I couldn't do that, Josie, because, see, I would mess with them men, but I'd be watching Judge Judy or something on TV. I didn't really have to focus on them that much. I'd say, oh, baby, that's big or something, and that was it. Well, on the phone, you have to try to keep them on there. In the room, you tried to get them a nut as fast as you could, because then another guy could come in. The phone was the opposite. You had to stay, and I couldn't do it. I just not good at that. So I didn't make much on that phone. Well, then my guy died of a heart attack. The guy, and his wife called and told me that he died. And then I tried another guy, and this is funny, from Elmira, New York, pretty close to where I grew up. Because he had played the music in my room, like a DJ thing. And my song was Porn Star. That was the song that played when I came.
Right.
And so I went to see him in Elmira. He was real creepy looking. He was like Ichabod Crane looking. And he started telling me about this true crime stuff, about how he was on that new detective show that used to be on, and they had accused him of murdering this woman and a thing. I didn't think I was going to get out. He lived in a rooming house, so I got rid of him, and that was the end of the porn room, because I never could find anybody like that first guy that could run it right, play the movies and stuff.
So what is one of the biggest challenges you've faced, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, man. You know, when I look back at stuff, I've really had a good life. I can't really think of any. Maybe I wouldn't have been married as many times, but I've never been true to none of them. So what do I expect? You know, I'd never been one to be tied. I like to do what I want to do, be friends with who I want to be friends.
Right.
Do what I want. So I would say the hardest thing I had to do was learning to live here in Texas.
Yeah.
Because they don't like Yankees here at all.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, 77, I would say you're a Texan now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I hope so. But they, you know, some of them still remember how I was out at that salt mine, because they couldn't stand me because I always wore real low cut shirts and my tattoos were showing. I flirted with all the men.
Yeah.
Patsy Gale, you might have seen her on some of my clips. She worked at the salt mine with me.
Right.
We're about the same age. And her and me were the biggest two sluts in the salt mine. If we seen one we liked, we picked them out. We did it, married or not, it didn't matter. So we get together now, and I asked her, I said, did you ever go with this one? Yeah. I said, man, I can't believe that. And we just talked. We hardly missed any of the men. We got them all. But I can't really talk about it because some of them are still out there and they're still married. But I hit just about all of them I wanted to.
What is a moment in your life that you'll never forget?
Okay. I was living with a guy in Minneapolis, and my mother was like, she came over with the Pilgrims. She didn't even know what deep throating was, or tongue kissing with somebody's tongue. She was really, really old fashioned. And her and my grandmother were going to surprise me and come to Minneapolis and not tell me. Well, they thought I was living with a girl from Everett, Washington, in an apartment. I hadn't been in that apartment practically since I got there, because I moved in with this guy. So when they flew to Minneapolis to surprise me, they went to that airport, or to my address, and that girl had to tell him the truth. She said, "Hey, Terry's not here. I don't know when she'll be back. I can tell you where she's staying." So they get over there to where I'm staying, and the guy's there. Clarence was his name.
Yeah.
And they knock on the door, and he's looking at them real funny. So when I come in, whenever it was, 11, 12 at night, whenever I dragged in there, it was like my mother was furious. My grandmother said, "Take us back to the airport. We're so ashamed of you." Blah, 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 blah. If your father ever finds out. So that was the worst thing. That
Yeah.
and being tied in the woods by that guy that lived here with me. The one
Tied
that
in the woods. He tied you in the woods?
Yeah, you didn't hear that story?
No.
Okay, I've been married to 3 1%ers. But this wasn't one of them. He was just a guy. No man has lived with me in this house except this guy I'm going to tell you about. I'm not going to say his name, but
Right.
he met me at one of them conservative groups I was in over at Gun Barrel. So he came by to date me, and I fell in love with him like love at first sight. And he said, "Well, I could just move in here with my daughter, blah, blah, blah." He had a 12-year-old daughter. So he was kind of, I might as well just say it because I'm not going to say his name. He was a cook, meth cook.
Right.
So he dealt with the bikers on that level.
Right.
He wasn't really a biker. He had a Harley, but he wasn't a 1%er or nothing. He was just like their cook. So I had spent a bunch of money on him, bought him a Harley and gave him a credit card and all this stuff. And he left me here with that daughter. I couldn't do nothing.
Right.
So I'm up at the biker place. I'm not going to say their names. And I'm in there bitching about him, saying, "Well, I bought him that Harley." And I kept thinking while I was talking, man, maybe I better keep my mouth shut. But they were going, "Yeah, he's a piece of shit." They were kind of egging me on to say stuff. So when I got home, about 2 days later, he says, "Let's take a ride in the truck." So I get in the truck with him. He walks me out in the woods, and I've on some of my videos, I've actually tried to go out in the woods and find that tree, but I can't find it. But he
Right.
had a roll of duct tape. He
Yeah.
duct taped me to a tree,
Oh my God.
and he walked off and left me. And Josie, I ain't kidding you, I've been beat up bad, been knocked out, put in the hospital, but I never thought I was going to die for something. I just thought I'll get over it or whatever.
Yeah.
This time I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be tied to this tree. Nobody's ever going to find me for like 100 years, and they're going to see my bones on that tree. It was terrifying. He came back the next morning. He just cut the duct tape off me. I just walked to the truck with him. I didn't say nothing. And finally, when we got in the truck, he said, "Maybe now you'll learn to keep your fucking mouth shut."
Oh my God.
And then I knew it was because I was running my mouth at that biker club, running my mouth about it. And then about 2 weeks later, he said, "I never left you that night." He said, "I just drove a truck up the road and come back through the woods and watched you
Right.
to make sure." But I don't know if it's true or not. I want to believe that he didn't just leave me there by myself, because there's wild pigs and stuff in Texas.
Wow.
So that was the scariest. I've had them knock me out and choke me. Sharon saved my life one time. Number 5 was on me, choking me, and she come in the door and saved me. So I've always thought I was going to have some kind of a violent end because of shit I've done. I don't know how I've got away with it as long as I have. And most of it I asked for because I've never been true to nobody. I've always done just what I wanted, had my own money, got all these Pekingese, went to dog shows, be gone 4 or 5 days and come back. Say, "What's your problem?" So I asked for it. I ain't meant to be with one person.
Right. So what is a lesson you've learned from a difficult experience that?
One thing I've learned is, especially on YouTube and in real life, is don't trust anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't care how good a friend you think you are with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell them anything that you're not willing to tell yourself to everybody.
Right.
Because you can't trust people with secrets.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, especially not on here.
No, YouTube is really bad. But I mean, even in real life, you can think you're really, really good friends with somebody, and then you'll find out they've been running around.
Yeah.
Saying
So how do you handle tough times? You just kind of suck it up and go
You
on?
know
Or,
what? My life is so good right now, Josie. I can't say because I retired from that salt mine. I made big money. And I used to work at truck stops too. I was a lot lizard. I'd work a truck stop every now and then. I've never been broke. Never.
right.
And I never, I had a lot of trouble with men, but the only one that ever broke my heart, believe it or not, was that prisoner, Kevin, I was talking to.
Oh,
I was trying to get with him. My prisoners were always married to me. The
right.
ones before, they were my husbands. Well, then when I was on Lee Cole's channel. I will never forget it. This might be the only time I was ever in love in my whole life.
Yeah.
And this guy started commenting under this video, click this link. And I didn't do it for a couple times. And finally I did. And it took me to this prison. And it was
Yeah.
Kevin. So I knew the producer of Love After Lockup.
Right.
And I thought, wow, we can be on Love After Lockup. That's what I was thinking. Because he was
Right.
getting out in a year or something. I actually talked to the producers and they talked to him, and then it kind of faded away, and I started really falling in love with this guy, believing him, sending him money, calling people. And then when he got out, he never called me or nothing. That was it.
Right.
So then I started doing investigate, and I got one of the other inmates in there that talked to me started telling me that he had a girl the whole time. And I looked on Facebook and found him and her on their engagement. Broke my heart to be as old as I am and to fall for that.
Oh, man.
I couldn't believe it because I'd never let a man get that.
Have you ever,
if they left, go ahead, leave. I'll get another one or something. This guy.
have you ever heard from him again?
Yeah, he got arrested after that. It hadn't been that long ago. And he called me, and he had to use his own money to call me. And I started screaming at him immediately. And I said, I got pictures of your damn garbage can sack whore you were with, Cindy, blah, blah, blah. He said, oh, you don't understand. And I started to almost fall for it again, but I quit. And I said, you're not getting a dime off me. If you call me, you're going to call me with your own money. So he called me twice, and then I haven't heard anything.
So I guess this question you've already answered. I was going to ask, who was the love of your life?
Well, the love of my life was my number 2 husband, the Vietnam guy. He's the one that got my virginity.
Right.
I was 18. It was horrible. All these romance books I read, I said, those authors are liars, because this is the worst thing I've ever went through in my whole life. I hated it. But I was so in love with him, I didn't care. And then he broke my heart by writing to that girl, Marcia. Right. And then we got married, and it was a disaster. I'd throw stuff in his face. But then I never thought it would happen again until I met that inmate.
Okay. So what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, man. I probably would have stayed right there in New York and not went all over the place like I did.
Right.
But I did wind up with a real good paying job. It was hard work. We had to stack off 80-pound bags, but it had a big old good 401k in it.
Right.
I would say to people, just be honest.
Right.
A lot of people don't want to hear the truth, but you start lying, you're going to wish you hadn't.
So what would you say was your biggest regret?
Probably not staying with that number 2, trying to make it with him.
Right. Because
I'd have still been up there where I'm from. I'm still homesick a lot because it's so hot here, and it's not New York. No way. This is nothing like New York City. Upstate New York is beautiful. It's nothing like.
Have you ever been back?
Oh, yeah, I go back. I got a brother up there.
Oh, okay.
In fact, a guy I graduated with, Brian Edgecombe, was a judge, and he had just got a hold of me on Facebook and said he had a calendar from my grandmother's store, what I wanted. He'd sent it to me. He just sent it to me like 2 weeks ago, and he just passed away. I saw on Facebook. It was like it was an omen, because I thought, man, what would be the chance that somebody would, and that date on that calendar is 77 too, the year I left.
Oh, wow. Well, that's nice.
My mother came down here and visited me quite often before she passed, and my dad came down. He passed 10 years before my mother did. He passed in 79. My mother passed in 89. She came down here almost every year.
So how did you get started on YouTube?
Okay, I didn't know nothing about it, but I'd been in that porn room and I'd been on Yahoo, so I knew how to do some things. And I started a YouTube channel, and if you look at my channel, the very first videos were nothing but Pekingese. That's
Right.
all I used it for, is my dogs. All my subscribers were puppy people and Pekingese people, because I showed them, bred them, groomed them. I did everything. I was into the Pekingese as deep as you can get into it.
Right.
And then I had horses too. In '89, I sold my last horse because it was just so hot here and I didn't really have time to ride much. I had horses in New York. And so I just got into the peaks full time, made money on them puppies too. Big money on those Pekingese puppies.
Yeah.
And that's how I got my YouTube channel started. If you ever feel like it, it's mostly all puppies. The very first videos were nothing but puppies. And then I did some of the men I was with. I'd take, because I've always been a big picture taker.
Yeah.
And so then I just started when Nancy, I don't know if you've seen her, but she's been on a lot of my videos. That me and Nancy were together in that picture. She was on the other side of the picnic table.
And this was a mukbang.
Yeah. I started doing them mukbangs. I started doing a little of everything. I'd show my dogs, and then I'd do a mukbang, and then I'd have Nancy on there and interview her. That's not very long ago. In fact, I had this same dress on.
Right.
And Nancy would be on there with me. That is number 6. That's Dan.
Oh, okay.
He was a drummer in a band, and that's here in Texas too.
Oh, okay.
No, that's in New York. We got married in New York at my brother's house.
Where's he now?
He had a stroke and he's in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
He can't even talk. I can't even talk to him anymore.
Oh, no.
He's the one that Pull Stick looked up and told me he was dead. When he was looking up my ex-husband's, I said, well, he's glad to know you found him dead, Pull Stick, because he's not dead.
Oh, goodness. Oh, God.
But that was Dan, and he was a mechanic at a bike shop called Two Wheel World. He had a Harley. All my men had Harleys, even if they weren't 1%ers, they had Harleys. That was a requirement. And then he was a whoremonger. He went out with women because he was in that band. He's good looking. Yeah. And so we did, I think we were together about 6 years.
Right. So when you started your channel and you were doing the puppies, and then it went to mukbangs, and then it progressed there.
Then Nancy got on there with me, and Nancy is I do dope. I ain't gonna lie about it, but I mean, she's really, I'm not. If I don't ever get any, I don't get any. I don't care, especially since I don't work. But me and her did some wild stuff on that YouTube channel. They loved her. The people loved her. And then I would have a convict on there because she was married to one named Marcus, and I've had Ray on there. Anybody I was around, I interviewed them. They were my friends. They got interviewed. I went to the trucks. I did videos at the truck stop, doing lot lizard stuff. I went to flea markets. I've showed my dogs. I do mukbangs. I've groomed my dogs on the camera. I cooked on there. I've done everything.
Yeah. I know. I love Little Presley. He's my favorite.
Yeah.
So what started your interest in inmates? It was because you were around them, or
and what?
Your interest in inmates?
Oh, well, because for one thing, I was married to 4 that were in there. Okay. One was in there for 5 years. Nancy's been in the pen for 2 years.
Okay.
So I've had a lot of, Sharon's husband, Ronnie, was in there. I went and seen him. I mean, everybody I'm connected with is some kind of an outlaw, so I'm used to prisons and getting divorces and DAs and all that stuff. So then I had never talked to anybody I didn't know, though, like I am now. I'm just talking to random inmates. The one that made me turn the corner was that Kevin.
Yeah.
And then he introduced me, his buddy that he had hooked up with Sharon, started telling me everything Kevin been doing. So he hooked me up with another guy, and that guy hooked me up with another guy. And that's how, when I was talking to Paul, I said, it was Christmas and they were getting all this stuff to make this big spread. And I said, well, what happens to the guys that don't have any money or anything? He said, well, they just don't get to eat. And I thought, God, that's sad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give Paul some money to give it to the the ones that don't have any. Well, then it went from there to these other jails, and I've met other ones, and I don't get involved with them like I did Kevin. I'm just friends. I don't think they're going to come and marry me or none of that shit. It's above board, and I just feel sorry because some of them are real young.
Yeah.
The one guy, Matthew, he's done stupid stuff, but he was a firefighter, and they feel like they can tell. I put some of their letters on my community page, what they say to me.
Right.
And they know I'm not going to get with any of them. Some of them are doing live, but they need somebody to talk to.
Right.
They $25 on their commissary can make a big deal to them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And
so, go ahead.
Well, the United States ain't good at getting the right person anyway.
Right.
If you ever watch true crime like I do, and I watch it constantly, they get the wrong person all the time.
Yeah.
And the sentences are so, like the one kid, Matthew, shot at a sheriff or something, and he got 4 years. But this other guy in Maine got 40 years. The sentences don't make any sense. I can't figure it out. And I think they need to really do something to reform it.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't kill anybody, because they sure don't know, get their shit right enough. It's better to let 10 guilty men go free than to kill one innocent guy.
So what would be your advice for anyone starting a YouTube channel now that you've been in
I would say the biggest YouTube channels, I have to go by them, like Katie Joy and Brandon Tatum's. They never have panels.
Right.
Never. They just talk. So I've never liked having anybody on a panel. I'll have Nancy because she's here at my house and we'll do stuff together. But I don't ever want to have somebody be my partner or I never drop links or none of that. Right. And I would say the lives will kill your channel.
Right.
You're better to do prepared videos. All the big ones do.
Right.
They don't have chats and stuff. That Katie Joy does. I don't think she's ever done a live. And I had a horse guy that I still follow, and somebody talked him into doing lives on Sundays. But mainly the big channels don't even do lives. Right. They just have, like, whatever you do, you're cooking or your dogs or whatever, you can do it without having a live.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at lives because I can't see my chat half the time anyway.
Right.
Yeah. But I noticed that the big ones don't have people on their panels. They know what they're going to type, whether it's politics or whatever they're doing, or mukbang or whatever it is. They don't have a chat. They just, because the chat distracts a lot of people.
Right.
Because they're too busy saying, hey, 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 to everybody that comes in, and then half the women in there got stuff wrong with them, and you got to pray for them. I don't want to be distracted. I want to say what I'm going to say and then get off of there.
So last question, would you ever get married again?
No. Number 7 is never going to happen. I called Kevin number 7, because there'll be 7 times I'll never get married. It'd have to be maybe Trump or somebody like that. It wouldn't be a scavenger like I find all the time to marry.
All right. Well, those are all my questions for you. Thank you so much, Terri.
Well, thank you. I hope this does good.
Yeah, I hope so too. You're funny as hell. Where's Presley? Is he around?
Oh, hell, let me get him. Presley. He might be in around the bed. Let me go over there. Oh, yeah. There's Presley.
Hey, Presley. Hey, Presley.
What do you think Angel got him? Huh? You like her? He's not in a bad mood today. It's going to be nice. I tell you what, Josie, this dog has made me bukus of money. Yeah, he started it all. Yeah, he started it all. Don't you growl at me. Don't you growl at me. Oh.
Here he goes. His face. Oh my God, he's so cute.
Well, I tell Eric you don't have a problem with him then.
No, I don't know him at all. I don't know. I mean, when he first came out, I think he was going after one of my friends. I can't remember. And I did say something at that time, but since then I haven't really.
I'm going to send my prisoners those 2 Mob Chronicle books.
Oh, good. Yes,
Toby and Jose. I'm sending them.
gonna send you
This is for you, Angel.
Look at his face. Oh my God, he is so cute. All right. Well, take care, Terri. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing it.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.